Oh, I so appreciate. Thank you. This has been such a reflection for me. This is just magic, 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 and I'm so loving this. I've been living life.
There are a lot of words that you might want to redefine in your vocabulary. Unbelievable. You say it's unbelievable and you don't mean that.
Oh,
you
well,
say it's a miracle and you don't mean that.
Oh,
You
it
say
is
it's
believable. I do believe.
And magic. What does magic mean in the truest sense of the word? We're nitpicking here, we know, but what does magic mean?
Oh, it just means seeing finally.
Magic means defying natural laws.
Yes.
And there is not any of that going on.
No.
In other words, we want the word normal to come out of your mouth instead of the word magic.
All right.
This is just so normal, we want you to say. It's just so normal that these wonderful, wonderful things happen.
Oh, they're becoming very normal for me. I love this.
Yes.
I've been having experiences over the last couple of years as I get more clarity. I am one of the other girls described as how I describe myself as a cliff jumper. I love contrast, so much so, and as I get clear on the understanding of Abraham offering of becoming one with contrast, appreciating it, the deliciousness of it, and just being with the contrast and experiencing what it is contrast is offering on the other side. I've had several experiences over the year where I've come up against huge contrast and asked the question, gotten the answer, and I get them in this vision. I bring it on. I say, bring it on. I want to see what it is that you're offering through this contrasting experience because I want what's on the other side of it. And what I get in this experience is a rush of energy that flows through me. I own a little cafe back in Canada, and I love, this is my play place. It's a place I get to be more of me than most places in my life. And I several times have had big contrast in other parts of my life, which got clear through a vision. And at the moment of clarity, I get this rush of energy that is beyond my own ability to describe. It's like it is bigger than my body. I almost watch my body expand through the experience, like it contains the body, not the body contains the energy. And I'm so in love with it, and I'm giddy. I'm all day long. My customers will come and for a treat, and they get a real treat. I watch them physically blush. It's like when they come within that 10-foot circle, they're responding to what may seem like heat or a radiation of some kind. And they kind of smile, and some of them don't even want to leave that. And I understand because I'm so in it, and I'm happy to encompass them with it. And I go through, and as I watch people bring their issues and problems, I get giddier. It's like, tell me more, tell me more. And I'm excited because I can feel the solution in what it is they're offering. But what happens to me is it'll build and build, and all day long, it'll build to a point where I don't think it can go any bigger. It's kind of like I knew what joy was, and then joy got bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's what it builds like all day long. There's a massive amount of joy that's flowing through me. And then I go home, and I love my family. I've got a granddaughter at home that is my vortex, and I've got so much stuff that goes on. But it's almost like as I'm coming to the end of the day, it's time to calm down. It's the only word I know for it. Like come back to the reality of my normal joy, not my extreme madness joy. And I say madness because it just seems like I'm giddy. Anybody else seeing me in the world thinks she's got to be mad. She's got to be crazy because how can she be that joyful no matter what's going on with her? But I start to get headaches. It's something that almost to the point when I get back to being normal. And I don't feel resistance to coming down to being where I've always been because I'm a very happy, joyful person. But there's something that happens that it feels like it must be resistance because I get these almost to the point of migraines where I'm still happy and I'm looking at the headache and going, how can I be physically in pain?
Well, you've said a number of things, some of which are vibrationally inaccurate a little bit. And we want to sort of work through this and tell you why you're having the experience you do and which things you said line up with the laws of the universe as we know them to be and which ones don't quite.
That's why I want clarity.
chronic appreciation of life.
Yes.
You're in the vortex more than you're not.
Yes.
You're in the vortex more than almost anyone you'll ever meet.
Yes.
And because, and all of this really fits well in this conversation that we're having today about the general moving to the more specific.
Okay.
So it's sort of like, we're just going to lay this here as a sort of a forerunner to what we're going to say next. It's like Esther, who's been doing this for so long, could be having a bad moment before she comes into the environment where you summon through her.
Yes.
But it doesn't take long before your summoning becomes the dominant experience that she's having.
Got it. Yeah.
Because she's been doing it so long that it's just natural that she come up to the speed of her vortex.
Yes.
Where in the early days, she had to make sure that she was in the vicinity of her vortex in order to have a good conversation flow through. You get the sense of what we're talking about. So in the same way, because of your love of this wonderful little cafe that you have, and so many of the people who come through who you love, you are in the vortex mostly. So much of what you were describing as you're interacting with them, as they are presenting their problems and you are seeing the solution, is just what it's like for your inner being all the time. Your inner being who always sees the solution and only knows the solution. But the difference between your inner being and you in your human form is that your inner being never comes down from that high vibration, where sometimes you do.
Yes.
So we want to describe to you, and we are certain that you will feel a confirming with this, but we're going to put it into words. That energy is always in motion. In other words, you are always moving into the vicinity, into the vortex, fuller and further and further, fuller and fuller and further and fuller. Or you're moving. In other words, it's this ebb and flow all the time. And when you acclimate to the vortex and slip out of it, it feels terrible. But there are feelings even within the vortex. There is the feeling of greater intensity and potentially more satisfaction, that feeling of passion, as you get more and more specific in the vortex. It feels more exhilarating than being general in the vortex. Right. But it takes focus to do that. So what's happening to you is that the people who you are interacting with, both those who work with you and those who come as clients, those that are playing with you during that process, they are posing the question that is causing you, who is already in the vortex, usually, already in the vortex, to focus more specifically. And what you described as the energy moving, the power of the energy, is exactly what's happening. In fact, you did the best verbal job of explaining energy and motion that we've heard. It is really what it is like. But then, sometimes Esther will say, and you said it already, when she comes off the stage, when she comes after a few hours of you pulling Abraham through her in a stronger way, the details of her now experience just aren't up to speed with what you've been summoning. In other words, the two of them cannot summon nearly as specifically and as robustly as the group of you. Right. And so sometimes, in fact, sometimes for Esther, what would happen is in coming off the stage, now Scotty is sort of preventing that from happening, but in coming off the stage, someone would come with a problem that they wanted to personally discuss, or with something that they are sure that Esther can answer, even though they feel that Abraham didn't. And as Esther is touched with that, not negative energy, but different energy than where she was, there is it's that feeling of coming down. It's coming down off of something, and that's what you're describing as the tension. What it is a reintroduction of a lower energy. Right. So what you want to do first of all is begin in a general sense by saying, I'm a flexible being and I can deal with this energy and it's all good. Yeah. And sometimes it feels so good because it's general, and sometimes it feels so good because it's specific, and I'm loving the range of energy and it's all good, so that you don't start categorizing it and competing or offering a judgment about it. Right. Because even today, as we've been visiting with you, we have sort of gathered your acknowledgement that frisky and passionate is better feeling than relaxed. Yeah. And mostly you agree with that. Yes. But relaxed is so much better than negative. And so what we're saying to you is that for you, relaxed is equivalent to something completely out of the vortex for most others.
That's right.
Do you hear that?
Yeah.
Esther said,
I'm not often relaxed.
Esther said
High energy.
Esther said to Jerry one day, when I get mad at someone today, it feels equivalent to what I think it would have felt like 10 years ago if I'd just taken a gun and killed them.
Oh.
In other words, it feels that far off from what she wants. In other words, she would never want to take a gun and kill any of you, but she doesn't want to have a negative, well, just that one. But she doesn't want to have a negative thought about you either, you see. And so you're just helping us to define this variance of vibration inside the vortex. So now, those of you who've been following us for a while, you have reason for a little annoyance here, because just when we've convinced you about the existence of the vortex and how much you just want to get in it, now we're telling you there are different chambers within the vortex. That it's ever expanding, you see. And you're so what you're understanding is you just got to keep yourself happy. If it's moving too fast, slow it down. If it doesn't feel good, choose a better feeling thought. If too much is coming at you, think smaller thoughts or fewer thoughts. You have control. Not only, you really do have control of how fast it moves.
Yeah.
But so now let's talk about this, because this is a new place. We've not been here before. If it is true, and it is, that resistance is what slows the speed, then do you not slow the speed through introduction of resistance?
Yes.
And isn't it a good thing when you're on a runaway train?
Yeah.
Isn't it a good thing? In other words, do you really want the train to go faster than you can enjoy? Aren't you always reaching for some balance between too much relaxation and too much stimulation? Don't you love knowing that you can speed it up when you're boring and you can slow it down when you're overwhelmed? That you can speed it up when you want to feel enthusiasm and you can slow it down when you want to rest? Isn't that what molding the clay is all about? And is there any one right answer?
No.
Should you be moving fast? Should you be moving slow? Or is it an individual thing that you get to choose based upon the comparative life that you're living? That's really what you're helping us to say. So when you say, I rarely relax, we want to say, we want you to.
I know.
But we also want to say to you that the more acclimated you get to the faster moving energy, the more relaxing it feels.
Yes.
It's like the analogy that we've offered about the airplane that's 50,000 feet in the sky and going 600 or 700 miles an hour. No resistance. And so all is well. Put it on the ground. Plenty of resistance. You don't want to go that fast when you're on the ground. But you do want to go that fast when you're in the air where there's no resistance. And so the same thing applies to all of this. In other words, as you begin to enjoy the faster moving currents, you just can't slow it down. You find yourself unwilling or incapable of feeling good in conversations that are boring.
Right.
You want leading edge conversations, don't you?
Absolutely.
Esther will say that. People will say, oh, Esther, if you just leave Abraham out and leave the weirdness of the vortex out, there are millions of people that would embrace this work if you could just de-weird it just a little bit. You just leave the weirdness of Abraham out. And Esther contemplates it for a second or two and then recalls that she could not bear being anywhere other than out on the leading edge. She can't go back. She doesn't want to go back to religious concepts. She doesn't want to go back to the outdated philosophy that someone else has the power to heal you. She wants to stay out here on the leading edge. She wants to remember that she is the creator of her own experience. And so do you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, thank you.